here, and this is going to be the assembly of the Jiminez Arms JA-22 pistol. Now on this, the first thing that I have to do is something that the spring wants to jump out on me. I almost lost it, so I am going to put in place my idiot glass that I can go ahead, and this is just some it's just some clear plastic that I've glued together, and it's got holes that I can put my arms through on the sides, and it's got towels that I've glued in place over it so that it creates a shade so that if something does jump out on me, I'm not going to be losing it, because I just got tired of losing parts. I just don't like that very much. So I'm trying to get this in a position here where it's not going to do that light reflecting thing. It doesn't look like it's going to work with me here. Well, that looks like that at least. I can remove it after this, because this is the part that I almost lost when I was taking this gun apart and preparing for this video. So the first thing that you want to get in there is your trigger, and for that you need the long thin pin. There are two short thin pins and one long thin pin. This is your trigger pin right here. And so what you want to do is first you're going to get the trigger in the gun, and you're going to get it in the gun the same way as you took it out. Get the slide out of the way, not working on that right now. Okay, so you put it in like this, slide it up in place just like this, and then when it's almost in place, you can see that little hole where you're going to want to put that spring. And what works really well for that is if you have a toothpick, just put the spring on a toothpick, and you can just kind of lay it right down in there. And there it is. Okay, now part of the difficulty with this, when it wants to jump out on you, is what you have to do is you have to push down on this spring while you're pushing forward on the trigger bar right here. So you want to push down on that spring while you're pushing forward on the trigger bar, so that can go in just enough so it's captured right in there like that. That's how it needs to look. I'm not sure if you can see that, but once it's in there like that, then your hole is pretty much lined up. So, and this is pretty loose, this pin, so you can just go ahead and slide the pin right in place. There it goes. Okay, now that's in there, I can remove this. That's the trickiest part of putting this gun together, is getting that little getting that pin in there and having that spring not jump out on you. And there's your trigger and your trigger bar all assembled nicely for you. Okay, now let's see, what will we do next? Let's go ahead and do our extractor. That's our ejector, excuse me, and we will do our little Sear assembly, if you can call it that, I guess. We'll need two pins. There aren't very many pins in this gun. There's two this size, and then there's the longer one that's the same diameter as this, but it's just a little bit longer. So that's it. Okay, so first what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and get your Sear and your spring in, hold those in, and then you're going to want to put your ejector in, and it kind of rocks in from the back, and it is under some spring tension, so you want to hold that down, and the first pin you're going to get in is going to be this pin. it is. And that's what's holding your ejector in now. Okay. Now this pin goes in from this side right here, goes in this other hole, and that goes in until it stops. And that's where there's another piece that goes on that we'll look at in a moment here, or right now. Why not right now? So another part of your trigger mechanism, and this goes, you gotta push this down a little bit until it snaps in. And actually, that's not right, because the trigger needs to be down here. The trigger bar needs to be down here. Then go ahead and put it in, because it needs to be able to go up like this and push it off. It doesn't do that when it's in the gun, honest, really. Okay, so there we go. That's assembled. And now, keep that in place. We'll just screw on our grip. Okay. Screw on the old grip. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We forgot something. There is another tricky part of this gun. That is your magazine release. It can be a little tricky to get that together. So it goes in just like this. You got your spring right here, and it has to go in as one piece, and it uses this other fatter pin. And you can see that when it's in there in place, it doesn't need to be under any spring tension, and it will line up that hole. So what you got to do is get this in place to the point where it's resting in the right place and not coming out on you. And it's a little difficult to get it to do that. This takes a little bit of playing around with it to get that to go in there and sit nicely. And if you look up inside there, you can tell when it's kind of sitting where it needs to be. And you can tell when you start getting the taps on it, you can tell a different sound when it starts going in. There we go. So there's your mag release. There's your mag release all installed and done. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lay in our spring for our safety. And what you want to do is you're going to put this end in first, and you're going to bend that back around that little post. Make sure that's seated well in there. And then your safety just goes right in the hole, right like this. Just sits right in there. If, of course, I can get it in there. There it is. And there it is. And this is just like on the other side. This piece is held in by the grip. Not exactly a great firearm design on this gun, but it is what it is. It served its purpose for me playing around with Duracoat. Now we can really put the grips on. Now, just go ahead and put that on. And we'll put our other grip on. There we go. Okay, and that is our frame completely assembled. Pretty simple. Now there's just one thing to throw in our slide, and that is our extractor. And the extractor just goes in like this. And this is one of the simplest extractors I've ever had to put in a gun, because all you do is put it there in place, put that pin in, and it slides in Just so easy. And then all you have to do is give it a couple taps to seat it in place. And there it is. There's your extractor in. Okay, now the only thing left to do is we're going to put the gun together. And one side of the spring is a little tight, so you want to make sure that the tight side is going in on this side. And then all you're going to want to do is put in your spring, and then your firing pin. No, that's backwards, Dan. You're going to put in your firing pin and then your spring. Had a little moment of dyslexia there. Alright, and then you're just going to go ahead and slide this down on top of that. And you want to hold that in place while you're getting this started. And then while that's started, you want to use your plunger. Remember, this is on a spring tension, it can launch on you. I almost lost this once. And you want to just push that in as you're pulling the slide back, and it will just slide into place like that. And there you go. Check the functionality. Works fine. When it's on safe, it will not cock. I'm not sure that's by design or not, but there it is, fully functional. This gun is not a great gun. Just if you want something to screw around with, you know, Duracoating or whatever, it's a cheap gun that fires fairly decent. I would never use it in a self-defense like a concealed carry way, but it's a fun little gun to shoot. You see on the magazines, I had to actually glue a little piece of plastic down because it would not feed very well, and it's because of the way the 22 rounds are tapered, so I had to put a little shim on there so it would cycle the rounds better, and that ended up working out good for this gun. Shoots good, not one I shoot often, but you know, it serves its purpose, and I was bored and needed to do another video anyway, so there it is, your fully reassembled Jiminez Arms JA-22 pistol. Thanks for watching.